Hello and welcome to this video about problem solving with averages. The learning target for this lesson is using our knowledge of averages to find important data. Now, just to throw it out here, calculators are going to be okay for this one because some of the numbers we're going to deal with are a lot bigger. And it's not so much about kind of being able to crunch the numbers, it's about applying your knowledge of averages to find them. And so calculators are going to be a tool for us to help us. All right, so let's talk about this from an algebraic approach. So let's keep in mind that the mean, the average of something, is going to be equal to, and this is kind of how they would write it in algebraic language, x sub 1 plus x sub 2 plus x sub 3 plus, and then dot, 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 however many x's there are, x sub n, all of that divided by n. Now, believe it or not, what we can do is we can take this and make it in an equation. So for example, let's say that we have an average of, I don't know, let's just say 20, okay, from 4 data points. So algebraically, here's sort of what it would look like. 20 is equal to x sub 1 plus x sub 2 plus x sub 3 plus x sub 4, all divided by 4. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to use inverse operations to help get to this part right here. Because these problems are going to give us a handful of them, not all of them, and we need to find one of them. Now, the inverse operation we're going to focus on is that we're going to kind of assume that these are in parentheses, which they kind of are, and we're going to multiply by 4 on both sides. Use a nice little mirror line. Make sure whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. The idea here is you're dividing by some number. If we times by that number, now what we have is 80 is equal to a bunch of different numbers being added up together. And again, we're going to be given perhaps 3 of them. We can then solve for the 4th one. But the key tool here is doing this multiplication on both sides. So let's do some examples and see how this all works. All right, so the first one. A basketball player has made the following number of three-pointers in their games: 4, 2, 3, 3, and 5. How many three-pointers do they need to make to have an average of 4 three-pointers per game? Okay, so what we're going to do is take this data that we're given. We're going to start writing it out. 4 plus 2 plus 3 plus 3 plus 5. Divide by is equal to, and then the goal here is to get 4. So we want 4 of these. All right, well now let's think about this. How many data points do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But they're not playing 5 games. They're going to play a 6th game. So we're actually going to divide by 6. And the question is, how much do they need, or how many of these three-pointers do they need to make in that 6th game to get an average of 4? Well, we don't know yet. And in math, when we don't know something, we say x, or we use a variable for it. Well, now let's clean this up a little bit. Let's add all these together. So we'll have 6 plus 5, so 12, 17 over 6, 17 plus x over 6 is equal to 4. Now we'll use that tool where we're going to multiply both sides by the denominator, 6 and 6. These cancel each other out. What we end up getting is 17 plus x is equal to 24. Now this is an equation we can solve. Subtract by 17, subtract 17 on both sides, and we get x equals 7 three-pointers. Now, you can ask yourself, is that feasible? And maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But that's how many three-pointers they would need to make to have an average of 4. All right, let's do another example. Now, this one you may have been able to do without this model right here. But now this next one, you're definitely going to, maybe you want to use this model. All right. This one is also a practical application. So many students need to know this so that way they can kind of, prepare towards the end of a term to kind of help themselves understand what grade they're going to get or what they need to do to get a certain grade. So a student has earned the following scores on their test over a term. 72%, 85%, 78%, and 83%. What do they need to get on the fifth test to have a score, or to have a test average of 80%? So again, what we're going to do is we're going to take these numbers and we're just going to drop the percent sign, and we'll put the percent sign at the end, back on at the end. So 72 plus 85 plus 78 plus 83. Now the thing is, that's the 4 tests they've taken already, but they're going to take a 5th test. And again, we don't know what that is. That's what we're trying to figure out. Like, that's the goal. Find out what that one has to be. And so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 data points. 5. And our goal average is this number right here that we're provided in the problem, which is 80. Now, in real life, you can actually kind of adjust this. What do you need to get to have a 90%, a 95%, a 75%, whatever the context of the situation is. So now you can kind of see why I'm going to say it's okay to have a calculator. So let's clean up this numerator by combining all of these numbers. 72 plus 85 plus 78 plus 83 is equal to 318 plus x, we don't know what that is yet, all over 5 times, oops, sorry, not times, all over 5 is equal to 80. Now again, we're going to use that little trick where we multiply both sides by 5. Gets rid of the 5 in the denominator and really cracks open that part right there. So we have 318 plus x is equal to 80 times 5, which is 400. Subtract 318 from both sides, and we end up getting x equals 82. So that means in order to maintain this, or to have an average of 80%, they need to get an 82% on that final test. So here we can definitely see how the structure kind of helps out with that. That might be a lot harder to figure out with just kind of eyeballing it. So there we go. There's how we do some average problems. Now, eventually they're going to get a little more complex, but we'll just start off with this. And again, you can use a calculator, and I would encourage you to use a calculator so that way we can focus on the theory and not get bogged down on the numbers. Good luck with your homework or practice, and let me know if you have any other questions.